Hi, Lou here to talk about a aspect of leadership that can be represented in several different ways in games, and that is the second in command. Well, in modern armies, there's a distinct and direct hierarchy of command, and so if the commanding general dies, you know who's next in command, and if that man dies, you know who's next after that. But that's not true, or has not been true, in earlier, say, pre-gunpowder times, certainly. Ancient medieval armies often had no second in command, amazingly enough. And so when the leader, for example, Mardonius at Plataea, died, chaos ensued. At Hastings in 1066, there was a panic when William went out of sight because his horse had been killed and he had to find another horse and get up and prove to his guys that he was still alive so that they wouldn't collapse. And even if there was a second in command, there was no hierarchy. For example, in that same battle, Harold Godwinson's brothers commanded the two flanks, but they also died. And so when Harold himself died, there was nobody to take over. In general, you might have a king and then a crown prince, if the crown prince is of appropriate age to be at the battle. But after that, often there was nothing. Now, this is kind of amazing, isn't it? How could they not arrange such a thing? But it was quite common. It's just like the tendency of medieval and ancient armies not to do any reconnaissance, especially ancient armies. How could you not do reconnaissance? I remember a friend telling me that he had an instructor who was a Belgian who'd learned English, and the instructor said, "Time spent in recce is never wasted." And that's true, but the ancient armies didn't do much reconnaissance in many cases. Sometimes you wonder how much brain power was put into these kinds of things in ancient times, and you can see how a general who actually thought and used stratagems and had plans could be superior, whether it was Hannibal or Scipio or somebody else. Now, in a game, of course, you can simply have a disaster when the leader dies, as I do in Hastings. You don't lose the Battle of Hastings in my game when the leader, whether it's Harold or William, dies, but you're certainly at a distinct disadvantage. Or you can just ignore the whole problem. An advantage of making the leader count for something is it introduces some aspect of avatar. Not necessarily that you, the player, are the leader, but that the leader is important in and of itself, and if it dies, then you're risking some pretty unfortunate things. Thanks for listening.